Hey everyone, welcome back. I have just filled up the truck with some gas. I am getting ready to go up to the mountains, and I am planning on meeting a friend of mine to do some camping. I'm going to be in a tarp and my bivy and try to learn how to do some like flint napping for some flint and steel stuff, better ways to set up my tarp, maybe some different knots. I'm kind of new to all that kind of stuff. So, it should be really fun. Hopefully, I can get some stuff on camera. If not, you won't see this part. But I'm going up with my good friend Adventures with Conrad from Idaho. He is probably already at the camping spot. We're going to campground, but the camping spot where we're going, so I could hit the road and meet him up there. All right, I made it to camp a couple hours ago. Got my chair and dinner is cooking. I'm an idiot and put 2 things to stew in a small cup, and that's not gonna fit. So I'm gonna end up burning part of my dinner. But the setup is I'm using my Bora Gear bivy. I'm using a Climate Static V pad that a friend's let me use, and a PowerPoint tarp. And Conrad's doing cowboy camping. He just has a tarp and his pad and his sleeping bag. But he's right over there. So it's currently a little after 8 o'clock. Just gonna have dinner, hang out, and enjoy the evening. Well, good morning. It is just after 7 a.m. I think we went to bed about midnight. Did not sleep super great, but I blame that mostly on the fact that I'm in a sleeping bag. I don't have sleeping bags. But the pad that I'm using, it's the Climate Static V Recon. I think it just refers to the color. Worked out pretty dang well. Oddly enough, when I was going to bed, around the small of my back, I did feel a little bit of cold spot. But then I rolled over to my side and still felt that cold spot, even though I was in a sleeping bag. I didn't feel it on my hips or anywhere else. But yeah. And then at some point, I think around 5 o'clock, I ended up moving the sleeping bag more toward the zippers on my back and used it more as like a quilt to see if I could try that. Pad was not cold at all. I know one of the big complaints with the Static V is that because of the welds with the V part, it keeps you cold. I wasn't cold. It is cold this morning that the windows on our vehicles are frosted over. According to my watch, it's about 50 degrees right now. And I think roughly at 6 a.m., there was an elk that bugled in the area. Heard it loud and clear, and it was gorgeous. And I think last night about 1 a.m., a deer ran right by or the other side of my setup. I think between my setup and Conrad's, a deer kind of just was bounding through. So that was kind of cool. I've already heard an ATV go down the road this morning, and there's a camp somewhere that way that has kids, and they're very loud this morning at 7 a.m. And I can hear the road noise. I didn't know this spot was this close to the road. But overall, it hasn't been bad. Yesterday, we just kind of sat and talked and caught up and see each other for a little bit. Today, I think we're going to work on a couple things like flint napping and that kind of stuff, flint and steel, some slingshots, and just enjoy the day. There's a little bit better view of the setup. I'm in the plow point. Conrad's over there, cowboy camping under the tarp, and he's still asleep, so don't want to be too loud. Hey, everybody. It is right around 9:15. Conrad has gone home for the weekend. He stayed for one night. He has a lot going on tomorrow, so he opted to go home. I am obviously staying one more evening. Not sure when exactly I'm going to pack up and head out tomorrow. But I've had dinner, and I have some wonderful new neighbors just that way that came in tonight, and they're close. I mean, I'm on a mountain. There's tons of dispersed camping in this loop. I'm sure there are spots for a little bit further away. But I get it. You come in one. The area I'm in has 2 entrances. I think they came in from that side, and this is probably maybe the first spot they saw. But either way, they're loud. The group over there is loud. I told them not loud all night long. Yeah, that's what I've been putting up with for the past hour and a half, just with that group. However, earlier this evening, when Connor and I were just sitting here chatting, a little bit behind me, kind of right there, you can't see, but right here, 2 deer were just kind of chilling. And if I can get it, because Conrad's the one that was facing the way that he could see them, I recorded them kind of walking around eating, and I have a picture. I will insert the video and photo of the deer here. I can't turn. You see that picture? Yeah, I'm taking a video. That one just, the frog just looked right at me. Did nothing. All right, so that was kind of cool to see those. Now, this has been a very fun weekend, or at least today and yesterday. Last night, Conrad and I sit up and just talked until like midnight, and then today, we worked on some knot skills, and there's a bunch of woods down that way. The highway is just to my left. Okay. Yeah, that way. But there's a lot of woods down there that we went and explored. And then across the road is access to an ATV trail. And then there's other Quakies or Assenses in Colorado that way as well. So we crossed the street and went and explored there. Found some amazing views and places that, if we had been thinking about it and done this earlier, it's just some place to go, take a chair, sit, cook some food, and just enjoy. It's not a camp spot over there. It's just a place to go sit and chill, which would have been pretty cool. Conrad has been interested in shooting slingshots, so I brought a couple up with me this weekend, and he and I shot a little bit, kind of gave him some instructions on how to shoot, how to hold. My only problem is Conrad is shorter than I am, as are a lot of people. I mean, I'm 6'5", so the bands that are on my slingshots are obviously made for me, and I draw to, a little bit past my head, or like a little bit past my ear. So they were far too long for Conrad. So he wasn't extremely accurate, but he hadn't really shot either. So I was kind of getting the fundamentals down. And next time I'll see if I can get some shorter bands or something and do that again. But had a great time. It was phenomenal. I've known Conrad for a couple of years. We've met up a couple of times up in Idaho where he lives. He did some axe sharpening restoration work for me and my dad. I'm sure if you subscribe to his channel, there's a link below for him. You may have seen the axe restoration. That was mine and my dad's axes, or at least hatchets. So like I said, I've known Conrad for years, and I've known he's been into the more like bushcraft, minimalist type camping, which is something that I mean, don't get me wrong, if you could see the camp during the day, I mean, my truck is right there. My tarp and bivy is just right over there by a tree. But I have a table up there with a 5-gallon thing of water, another thing of water for drinking and, whatever. I brought way too much water. Better have too much than not enough. And, I have extra clothes in the truck, and I have a backpack that has most of the stuff in it. But I know I wasn't going to be hiking anywhere today or this weekend. But I'm trying to see what I can do with the backpack so that if my back ever gets to a point where I can backpack, I know what I can pack and what I can and cannot leave, and save some weight. But yeah, it's been great. There's still a stage 2 fire restriction here in Utah. They've eased that, so now, like, if you're in a campground, an established campground, you can have a fire in a fire ring, and you can have a fire at home.
You still can't cook with charcoal. You have to cook with gas. No fires outside of anything like that. So here, because we're dispersed camping, no fires. So I had to use my, I mostly use the Nano and the Firebox gas burner, Firebox wood burner stove, or whatever they call it, and isobutane to cook meals and boil water and that kind of stuff. Tonight I use my 5-inch Firebox and the grate to cook up some hot dogs. Everything else has been like stew and boiling water for freeze-dry meal, that freeze-dry biscuits and gravy. Good stuff. But anyway, it's been a great weekend. So Conrad, if you watch this, thank you again for coming down. I know you had a lot farther to drive than I did. I greatly appreciate it. I look forward to doing this again, probably next year, because my next 2 months are gonna be crazy busy, and then we're getting close to the end of the year and all the holidays, and yeah. So looking forward to doing this again with Conrad, hopefully early spring next year to this time, so we can do a little bit different type stuff, and hopefully have a fire. In the morning, I haven't done a full actual tour or walk around of my camping setup with my tarp and bivy. So I will do that in the morning. If I think about it, I'll insert a photo here.
Good morning, everyone. It is just before 7 a.m. and didn't sleep too badly last night, despite the group down below me being extremely loud, like yelling at the top of their lungs, until about 2 o'clock in the morning. So, that was fun. Anyway, I'm going to be packing up today and heading home. And let's just say that I might not be the most quiet as I'm packing up this morning. I've already been closing my doors on my truck and everything and all that. But anyway, let's do a quick tour of the sleep system I used this week. All right, so this is what I've been using as a shelter for the past 2 nights. I just have my lightweight backpacker's tarp set up in a plow point configuration. This tarp is nothing special, it's just from Amazon. And I realized after we got it set up that it's actually inside out, because the label is right there. If you can read that. It's something like Jack-Com or whatever I got from Amazon. Just a normal heavy-duty tarp. It's a ground cloth. I know it's not super lightweight, but I'm not backpacking, so it doesn't matter. And I have my Bora Gear bivy, which that thing is awesome. It got pretty chilly last night, and just with the material that is, I kept in a couple degrees to keep me a little bit warm. I could tell the difference this morning as soon as I unzipped the bivy to get out. I could tell there's a pretty decent difference in temperature, just inside and outside of the bivy bag. For the pillow, I used a Climate Drift, the small one. This thing is extremely comfortable. Used a 50 or 0 degree bag from Cabela's. I don't want sleeping bags. So on the last night, I set this up more of like a quilt, just if I like that experience. That was so much better than using a sleeping bag as a sleeping bag. Then I'm using a Climate Static V Recon air pad. Not sure if this lost some air or air condensed because it was colder or whatever. But I've heard a lot of people comment on the Static Vs, the various Static V pads from Climate, that they sleep cold. I personally did not have experience. And last night I slept on this where majority of my body was on the pad directly, and I was not cold. Now granted, I do have a tarp underneath me, and I have this tiny closed foam pad that doesn't really do anything under that as well. But this I was not cold with those V's at all. It was actually quite comfortable. I just wish the This one could be longer. This thing is like 6 foot something. It's like a 72-inch length. And that's a little bit short for me. So if I were to buy a static, or a static V pad from Climate, I would get their long version, which sadly is not insulated. But I don't believe that this one is insulated either. And when I woke up this morning, pardon the non-graceful standing up there. This morning my watch was reading 50 degrees. And really, this is about as late as I'd be camping here in Utah anyway. And if I can sleep with a non-insulated pad like that, it was perfectly fine. The only thing that made sleeping a little challenging as far as the system is concerned is that sleeping bag is very thick. So I would need something thinner that's actually possibly made for backpacking, because that's what the bivy is made for. But that's the only thing I'd change is the one I'm using to cover myself. And probably put a different close-up foam pad underneath, something like one of those accordion ones. And then I'm still learning how to stake out the bivy. It did shift a little bit. The pad did shift. That pad is only 23 inches wide rather than 25 like a lot of the other pads that you can get out there. But I didn't really find that as being much of an issue. I think it mostly shifted because I was trying to shift with the sleeping bag. And that thing is it's heavy and didn't want to move very much. Then I have a regular just table I put underneath, so I didn't empty my pockets, and I put everything in my hat, and then climb into bed. I haven't put on my normal boots yet. I'm just wearing my wonderful camp shoes or my Crocs to walk around this morning as I take a drink, get my meds, and decide what I'm going to do for today and how early I'm going to leave. Something else I have been using this weekend is the Kilo Skier. I don't remember the name of this particular chair, but I'm using that this weekend. It's an extremely comfortable chair. The only thing, there's things about this chair that I love and things about that I hate. Or not really hate, but I'm not 100% sold on, I'll say that. I love that on the legs, you can adjust the legs. So if you're on a decent hill and you want to sit up straight, you can lower the back or lower the front. You want to recline a bit more, lower the back legs a notch, perfectly fine. The back, this little pillow, I have this one set up so that this rests in kind of like where my neck meets the base of my skull, and I can lean back and it's extremely comfortable. Downside, I cannot wear my hat, a full-rimmed hat, and lean back and rest my head in this chair, so I can't wear this hat. I have to take it off or sit for it a little bit. It did sprinkle a little bit yesterday. Conrad was set up right between those two trees. Is that where you're set up? Yeah, he was set up right between those trees. And he had his tarp in a floating A-frame configuration. And we put both of our chairs underneath, and he has a very lightweight backpacker's chair that he uses. That was significantly lower as far as the back is concerned with this. So I had to just be a little bit more cautious of where I put the chair. With that table there, I could easily move that table and could sit underneath there on the tarp had I been by myself and needed a place to sit out of the rain for a minute. And the chair would have gotten a little bit wet. Not that big of a deal, it was in a downpour. Or I could have even just taken the chair padding off and put that with me under the tarp. So there's ways around it. But overall, thoughts on the Climate Static V are pretty positive. I do wish it was a little bit wider. It seems like they make a 23-inch wide pad or a 30-inch wide pad. They only make one that is long for people that are 6'6" or so. That is not insulated, but I don't think the insulation's that big of a deal, as I mentioned. Then the Kilo Skier chair I've sat in that a couple times. I've brought that on a couple camping trips, either solo or with a friend or with family, and I really like it. I really like it. It's very comfortable. That's a chair that I'm most likely end up getting for myself, and then get some other chairs with lower backs for the family. They seem like those a little bit better. and still trying to figure out what my wife likes as far as the chair goes. But anyway, it's a little bit better shot of where we saw the deer yesterday. Unless I've put in the clip, but they're just right there, walking around. We explored those hills a little bit. Went almost to the freeway. It kind of dips down, then goes back up, and you can see the highway. You can see those vehicles. Those are super loud people. Then we walked over there and walked in a little ways. There's a couple of nice patches of fir trees over there that you can't see from here. You can't see from anywhere along the beaten path in this camping area. So it was nice to explore. I'm going to turn this around. I learned a lot from Conrad, and having him here was fantastic. I learned some new knots and how to kind of read rocks for flint knapping if I'm going to do flint and steel. Learned a little bit about the technique to use flint and steel. So again, Conrad, if you watch this, thank you for coming up and spending the weekend here with me and making that longer drive for you than it was for me to come down. And I look forward to doing it next time. So for everyone that is watching that's still here, thank you for staying for the entire, almost 2-day journey that I've had up here. And I'll catch you all on the next one.